Hello everyone, welcome to a foreign farming in the Philippines. Well, I had planned to do this yesterday, but I wimped out yesterday. I took another one of my 2.5 hour afternoon naps and just never got this done. I had gotten up at 6:30 that morning, actually a little bit before 6:30, and was just out of gas by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, it took me a nice long nap. But today, I'm going to get this last tank cleaned and transfer the fish. I'm going to count. Now, Tata and I think we had put 201 smallish fish in this tank here. They were about the same size as maybe a little bit larger than the ones that we have in this aquarium here. I'm curious as to how many are left, so I'm going to count them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go along and lift up this net so that all the fish that are in this tank will be driven down to this end. And then I'm going to put a pole. I've got to go find me a pole, and I'm going to run it across here to hold the net up, and then put this net back down, and I'm going to transfer those fish into here. So we'll have the for sale fish and the raising tilapia in a tank experiment both in the same tank. And then I'm going to take, I don't know, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to take a couple females out of every one of those tanks and a male and put into this tank to relieve a bit of the overcrowding. And that's just, that's just a bit. Almost every one of those tanks has 15 fish in it, and that's just too many. So, I've got about, well, what is that? 15, 25, 30. I've got about 30 too many breeders. And if we didn't have this, if we didn't have these fish that are in this tank for the experiment, then I could put about 10 of them in that one and about 10 of them here, and it would just be marginally overcrowded in the rest of those tanks. But I want to continue that experiment just to see how tank raising tilapia will go. It's only going to be about another 6 weeks until they're done, and I'm sure that with proper water exchange and aeration, the overcrowding in those other tanks there won't be a big deal. So I'm going to get on this and start moving fish around. All right, pretty straightforward. I've put that, I just decided to use that metal purlin instead of digging around for a post that could possibly just over time warp and rot, bend, whatever, so I just use this metal purlin. There's no way for me to do an exact count because at the moment, because I don't know how many fish we've sold out of here off the top of my head, but way more than half. So there's probably only 30 fish, 40 fish left in here. So I'm going to start draining this tank and get ready to move some fish. What's that, Lung? I need a shirt. Yeah. All right, well, this is winding down. You know, I had not thought there were any fry, any small fry in this tank, but I was wrong. There's a bunch right there, and I haven't had this net over it. I looked in here for 10-15 minutes, not continuously, but I've looked in this tank a lot, trying to see if there were any small fry in here, and I didn't see any, but there's a bunch right there. There's a bunch of them right there. If you guys can see those or not. So there's no telling how many have gone downstream there. Go on, BB. Hopefully not too many. Probably some. BB, go on. Alright, well, I've gotten most of the fish out of here. There's still some fry left in there. You can see them running around. I'm going to go in and clear out some of those rocks out of the bottom. These are the ones that I, kind of after the barn door was open, that I put the net down here and started catching them. I'm sure a lot of them went downstream. Oh well, you just can't catch them all. So it had been my plan to take a bunch of these, you know, like two breeders out of each one of these tanks and put them in here. But that plan is not going to work according to plan. Maybe I might take one out of each of these tanks, because all these fish here were in this tank. Now there's one male in there, so this is actually a breeding colony already in this tank. So, you know, again, just got more breeders than we need. Well, actually, probably not more breeders than we need. We just don't have enough tanks. So, not going to be moving around many fish. That is a big snail right there. I'm going to transfer him into that aquarium up there. The thing is I don't have any place to move these fry anyway. And the larger ones in there are actually fingerlings. I don't have another tank to put them in. I don't have another aquarium to put them in. And the big news is, and the sad news is, that I took, out of the 201 that Tatai and I put in this, I took out 68. 68. So less than half were still in this tank. So that tells me, because there's breeder fish in this tank when there shouldn't have been, and we've lost so many of the fry out, or the little fingerlings that we put in here, we lost so many of those. Look, there's never floaters in these breeding tanks. You know, a fish dies, it usually sinks to the bottom, it begins to decompose, it makes gases inside the body, and then it floats. Never see those in these tanks. So the fish aren't dying. What is happening is they're jumping out, and the dogs are eating them. Now, I kind of knew this already, but we just haven't had the time because we've had so much other stuff going on. We haven't had the time to do what needs to be done on these breeding tanks, which is to put net covers over all of them to keep them from jumping from one tank to the other. And yes, it has been on the list of things to do for over a year, and we're just going to have to break down and do it. Maybe this next payday, or I think we have the net. Maybe we have the net down there, and we'll try to dig some out. We have enough to get started anyway, because Tata and Nerio brought up a net, the large hold net, which is all we need to put in this tank, and it was too small. It was too small to go all down in it. So at least we'd have enough out of that probably to make 3 of these covers. So what we need to do is just make 2x2 frames with the net, 2x2 coconut lumber wood frames, put the net in it, keep these fish from jumping back and forth, because 130 some odd of the large fingerlings that Tata and I put in here obviously jumped out, and I've already cleaned all these tanks here and didn't find them. They weren't in these other tanks. There might be a few in this tank here, but either the bird came up here and was getting them, or they just jumped out, or they died and went to the bottom and their cellmates ate them. I don't know, but because there were breeders in this tank when there should not have been. There should have been no breeders in this tank. So, and because there were, and there were, was it 5 or 6 of them, it means those breeders jumped from this tank or this tank when they jumped in here. So, just going to have to cover these. So the experiment in tank raising the tilapia, because we've lost so many, is not going to be anywhere near a success, because the fish are gone. So all those numbers that I was keeping on feed are out the window, because most of the fish are gone. So we're gonna have to start all over again. It's frustrating, but we'll get this dialed in sooner or later. We'll get it right. This is an experiment. All of this is an experiment. There is a learning curve. I'm learning every day. And what I've learned is that, for sure, these tanks have to be covered. There's just no other way around it. Alright, I'm just going to fill these tanks up and call it good. I'm going to put these breeders back in here. I would imagine that's where these little fry came from. The breeders that were in here. I'm just going to put these back in here because I don't have an aquarium set up to put them in. Just don't have it. So, and there's probably 10 or 20 of the smaller fry still in here. So at some point, I'm going to have to fish all those fry out of here. But not today. I'm going to take these guys here, put them back. It's actually 7. Alrighty then, finishing this one up. Thank you everyone. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.